Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Stumptown. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, there's the whole situation with Dex obviously being the buyer in this situation. And I was wondering, because at first she's like, oh, do I have to really run down all this stuff about like who I am for like the cover up and stuff like that? And it's like, she's like, I'm Crystal, it doesn't really matter what my name is, and just kind of got into the flow of it. It's like, all right, she's pretty good at it. She got it, down packed. So it was interesting though. Obviously, like the little first meetup to kind of set up the situation of like, hey, I'm the buyer. Let's see if this is something I'm interested in. I love that Scuzzy's the most resistant out of the whole situation, because it's just like Scuzzy's the one that's just the most vocal. I mean, to be fair, he's just pissed because Gray stepped in on the situation and stuff like that. So that was interesting. At first, it seems like, all right, so the deal is, well, at first it's kind of like, well, you have Dex being like, well, fact of the matter is, I mean, I'm only going to be on this deal for a little bit of time, because afterwards I'm a bounce, because, the people who want whose stuff you stole, probably going to want it back, I heard from this person to this person, so it's like, I'd rather not get too involved. So it's like he literally got till midnight, so kind of got them on the hook with that whole situation. At the same time, Hoffman learned, he doesn't know much about the people involved. He talks to the dirty cop from the last episode to be like, all right, so only thing he could say is they work for it's something connected to Seattle. Like, the fact of the matter is, this is just like, there's a long range of like, people who know people type of situation, but it's like these are very dangerous people. At the same time, it involves a lady. Simply call her Violet, because we don't know if that's a real name or not. Interesting enough, I could be wrong about it, but isn't that the actress who played Amanda Waller on Arrow? I could be 100% mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that's her, because I kept looking, I was like, you look so familiar, and I just can't remember what. That might be it, which would be interesting if that is the case, just the parallels of like, well, because Kobe Smulders, obviously it's connected to the MCU, she plays Maria Hill, who's part of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Amanda Waller, part of Argus, so Argus and S.H.I.E.L.D., obviously different universes, Marvel and DC, but it's still just kind of interesting if that isn't being the same actress. I just thought that would be kind of interesting. But it's just kind of interesting, like, we immediately get introduced to her, and then we had that crazy situation of her and Dex running into each other at that, like, veterans meeting place. I was like, whoa! I was like, no, this ain't going to play out like that. And it's like, it's crazy because, like, they joke with each other, and there's actually a bond created between them, because she kind of sees what Dex is going through. She could kind of look in her eyes and see, like, oh yeah, you got some stuff you're going through, some stuff you haven't quite forgiven yourself for. It's like, it's all in the eyes and stuff like that. And it was so interesting, because I don't think Dex has ever really had anyone, especially someone who's just met her, read her so well, because it's like, yeah, all that's kind of bubbling beneath the surface and stuff like that. But the fact is, they hit it off and everything. I'm like, oh, this is going to get awkward. Then they're driving, and girls just want to have fun by Cyndi Lauper plays, and I'm like, okay, dude, this is getting crazy. And they're like, oh, let's go back to her place. I'm like, what? No way. And then immediately in my back of my mind, I'm like, if this goes the way it does, I think it's going to go, and it does in fact go that way. I'm like, this is so awkward. It's like, your relationships are super complicated. There's the whole you and Gray situation, which they want to face, they would never admit it. Super complicated. Her and Hoffman situation, ooh, that's complicated. And now you and Violet, ooh, that's super complicated. Side note, I'm also skipping over that moment where, like, Dex was laughing at something. They're like, what are you laughing at? She's like, oh, just, not that, that. Because I love they did have to sign waivers. It's like, yeah, if you get killed or mauled. And she's like, mauled? It's like, yeah. And Gray was like, yeah, I had to sign one too. And she's like, mauled? It's like, no, don't worry about it. You're not going to get mauled. You'll be good. You'll just drop the money, get in and out. You'll be fine. I guess that, but the fact is, for that to be in a contract, like, that they have to sign, like, kind of being like a waiver and stuff like that, it must mean that on some occasions, people under those circumstances must get mauled by, like, animals or something like that. That's interesting. For it to be in a waiver and stuff like that, something specifically, them saying mauled. I mean, to be fair, that was Hoffman saying that. Who knows if it's really in a contract or not, but regardless. But I love it. Like, it's kind of like, she's, oh, look at all three of us working together, and they're laughing. It's like, it's funny. And they're like, why? And she's like, because you've both been inside me. I'm like, what? I wasn't expecting Dex to say that, and so flat out, like, oh, you both been inside me. I'm like, oh, because she was talking, because they were like, oh, because this is awkward. And she's like, yeah. And they're kind of struggling, like, oh, no, I don't see the awkward until she said that. I'm like, I was like, at first I was like, does Dex not have any self-awareness? But it's just like, no, for shits and giggles, she wants to make it awkward. And like Hoffman and Greg kind of look at each other after that, and she's like, well, not at the same time. I'm like, Jesus, Dex, stop. And she's like, we should do a group hug, or maybe we should take a photo to commemorate this moment. I'm like, I love how you had to kill the moment like that, Dex, and it was so beautiful. That was so well executed. It's just like, well, that's Dex for you. Cutting the tension, not with a knife, but with a bloody hatchet. But nevertheless, for her and Violet and everything, because it's messed up, because it's like, well, Violet gave her good advice because it was a whole conversation. It's like, well, you said that I was someone who, what was it exactly she was saying? That has stuff they're not quite dealing with, essentially. And it's like, well, there's two type of people. People who run from their demons and people who fight them. No, there are people who embrace their demons and there's people who fight them. And Dex is like, well, which one do you think I am? It's like, at the end of the day, it's like up to you to kind of decide. Because I think that's where Dex is currently. She's kind of in a limbo space. She hasn't really fought her demons and she's not really embracing them. It's kind of more so like she's currently in that third, like she's in that middle area kind of running from them, but there's no escaping your demons, But I thought that was kind of interesting. Like I said, it's like Violet kind of helps her, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, I legitimately was thinking like the entire episode, she's never going to find out. Like I thought some stuff was going to happen behind the scenes and she was never going to find out about Violet. But by the time the deal is ready to go down and everything, I know I'm skipping around a lot in this episode. I do apologize. But I thought it was so interesting because like when they actually met, I was like, oh, what? Especially because it's like, also, because like she's kind of like a scary badass assassin. She's literally doing her nails, blowing on her nails to get them dry while she's looking at footage. They're like, oh yeah, let me track down these people. Home Dude, I mean, to be fair, it's interesting because I guess for her, she skirts certain lines. Maybe she knew who like Home Dude is, because it seems like Home Dude comes from a very privileged family, which I guess it's like he's one of those dudes that's kind of like, oh, I come from a good family, but I'm rebellious and I'm kicking it with the bad kids type of situation. Because I was surprised she didn't kill him. She just knocked him out. I figured it was for information, but the fact of the matter is she's like, you feel this against your leg? It's a blowtorch. It's actually a phone. I guess maybe because she knew who he was, maybe he comes from a high-powered family, so she didn't. Or it might imply the fact is that his family might be the ones that hired her to do this. That's all I can assume in that situation. Like I said, I could be wrong, but it's just like, why? Because we saw you kill your first target in the episode, but it's like, you didn't kill this guy, so that's why I'm like, either because she knew who his family was and it would draw too much attention, or his family hired. Because it's like, why would you let him go? That's what's kind of interesting about that. And why would you fake like torturing him? And I love it. And he's like, I'll tell you whatever you want. And she's almost disappointed. She's like, oh, God, it's not, you're that much of a punk. And then the fact of the matter is, he's like, Leo, do you want me to tell you like his full name and everything? And she's like, kind of like, no, we'll get to that soon enough. I love that he was ready to spill. And she was, like I said, she looked so disappointed. Like, oh my, that's no fun. That was too easy. But nevertheless, but like getting back to it, I did not expect her and Dex to cross paths. I was like, oh, what? And she's kind of like, she's like, Dex, I don't know why you're here, but you should leave. And it's like, but my friend is there. It's like, Dex, I don't want to kill you either. And then it turns into a full-blown brawl. It's like, holy crap, dude. That has to suck, dude, because it's like, well, you slept together, and literally the next day you're fighting. I mean, I guess Dex could have warned her, like, well, the cops are coming, so you probably want to run too, but it's also like, well, you're a bad guy, so it's like, oh, that, like I said, it's such an awkward situation. Someone you like, you hit things off with, especially because, like, Violet had said that thing of, oh, I feel like I'm floating, and Dex was, like I said, Dex was vibing. Hell, she got that text from Violet being like, and she smiled and everything. She was super happy, especially with everything that, dealing with the whole Ansel situation recently. It was nice to have something kind of, going good, it felt, probably, it wasn't like drunk one night stand. It was just something where it's like, she kind of opened up to a person kind of saw her, and, it was something good. It wasn't, anything kind of, shameful or like bad. It was like, no, it was a good thing, so it's like, that kind of gets sullied by the fact is that she was there to kill a whole bunch of people, and you had to fight. I was like, oh, is Dex going to throw her over the edge? And Dex does. I was like, oh, is she going to die? Dex grabs the gun, but by the time she looks, she's gone. It's like, yeah. I was almost about to say, like, that'd be kind of a bummer, but it's actually a good thing she got away, because it's like, now that's still out there, that situation. Because even, I'm skipping around, but at the end of the episode, she showed up at the bad alibi, and she gave she had the bartender send over that drink, you know, and everything. And it was like, okay, so that means Dex and her are probably going to cross paths again, you know, because I doubt this is the last time we see her. I mean, granted, it might be a situation of, well, because the cops now have their drugs. So it's like there's no getting that back. So I don't know what they're planning on, what her employers are planning on doing with that situation. Also, side note, I love that moment between Gray and Dex when, like, you know, Hoffman has the money out. And he's like, they're like, is that real? And he's like, yeah, both of them are looking at like, holy shit, that's a lot of money, a lot of real money. And it's just kind of like, huh, interesting. And I love Dex is messing with it, and Hoffman's just kind of like grabs it, and she's like, oh yeah, I was just gonna close it from this side. It's like, yeah, I can take it for you. He's like, no, I got it. It's just like, yeah, good. It's like, yeah, that much real money standing in front of you, you'd be tempted. So I just thought that was neat. But also like the whole Dex and Max situation, because obviously Gray cares about Max. Once again, Scuzzy starting mad shit. It's like, oh, look at, hey, Leo, he was trying to get with your girl. I was almost kind of halfway expecting when Gray was starting to choke him, like he was going to take the gun and point it at him. But it's like, that's not Gray's style. He handed it to Max. But like Leo's like, oh, yo, what's up? It's like, are you really going to trust a dude named Scuzzy? Really? And it's like, well, that does kind of speak volumes. But nevertheless, Gray had brought up the whole Max situation because, you know, Dex could kind of see through it. Like, oh, like, you know, oh, who's that Max girl and stuff like that with the dreads. He's like, it's not dreads. It's like, she's like, I see. And he's like, the fact of the matter is she just wants out. It's like, oh, she's so playing you, which you can make the argument, but I don't think she was. Legitimately, just, you know, life kind of circumstances put her in that situation, you know, so she was looking for a way out. And luckily, you know, Gray represented that. And I thought that was kind of neat. But obviously, you know, it's like, well, if she kind of gets out of there, you know, kind of gets knocked off the truck, you know, as they're like transporting her. I think he was kind of implying like if she kind of got knocked off the truck of like where they were going to be arresting everyone and putting them in the back. It's like if she kind of fell off the truck, I think it wouldn't be too bad. So it's like, how are you planning on going about that? Well, when the deal actually goes down, he slips her a note. I didn't expect things to kind of go down the way they did. I almost halfway expected Dex to come back into the room and shoot Leo when he had the gun on Gray. So, but luckily Hoffman and the cops came in just in time. I was actually surprised when it's like, wait, where's Gray and the girl? And it's like, oh, Gray had already bounced. I was like, oh, he's running. I was like, oh, it's like, well, the fact is the cops are there. I was like, well, all you have to do is hide Max. And if anything comes up, it's like, oh, no, like call Hoffman and stuff like that. But I'm like, yeah, but then like, they just think you're someone fleeing the scene. I was like, and he was calling Dex. I was like, what's Dex going to do about it? Is you going to call Hoffman or something? I didn't know what to do. And it's like, and then someone pulls up and I was like, oh, Sulin. And lo and behold, it's a right. You went to the reservation. American laws don't. The reservation has its own laws, so their jurisdiction doesn't apply. So I thought that was really interesting. But it turns out Sulin kind of lied. So luckily, you know, Max kind of gets safe passage. You know, her and Gray say their goodbyes. She did bring up a point of like, obviously, this life of, you know, running a bar and everything. Is it for Gray that eventually he's going to get bored of it? But basically, when it's all and she's like, when the time comes, don't blame yourself when you decide to run. He's like, I'm literally giving you my truck to escape in, and this is the last thing you're going to say to me. And they proceed to make out. So I think that's definitely going to be interesting. Would there ever be him and Max? I don't know. Because I think it's going to be that situation of the reason he'll say the alibi, his real reason for staying. I mean, he also says like running. He spent his life running, and it's like that's always something. You're always going to be on the run. You're always going to be looking over your shoulder. So he has no intentions of ever going back to that type of life. But also whether he'll admit it or not. I mean, it's partially because of Ansel, but it's also because of Dax. Like he doesn't want to leave either one of them. You know, they're family to him. They're too important to him. So if it wasn't for them, he'd pack up and leave. Like, they're the only reason why he stays, you know? So I'm going to be interested, and that's kind of foreshadowing the fact is that Gray potentially will kind of leave everything behind. It'd be interesting to see. I even love that moment between him and Hoffman. Hoffman's like, oh, so what about Max? And Gray's like, which one was Max? And it's like, what about this note? Right, that was when I was playing charades with Max and the others. Oh, that's all it is. Perfectly explainable. And it's like, and Hoffman is like, I hope she was worth it. And rips up the check. I was like, damn, dude. I was hoping Gray would say like, yeah, it was. But then like Hoffman was like, nah, man, I'm messing with you. And it's like I couldn't do that because that'd be unethical. And the fact of the matter is, you could sue me for that. And he's like, oh, that's cold blooded. I was like, that's so interesting. Which once again shows, hey, a step forward with their relationship, despite everything being weird and awkward. So that's interesting. But then we also got a little insight into Hoffman because his dad was there. He was the one helping that kid. So he's like, see you in court, Dad. I'm assuming that's supposed to be like, okay, because like that conversation kept coming up about who his dad is and his dad being like being a lawyer and stuff like that. Now I guess this is kind of setting up the fact that him and his dad are kind of on the opposite sides of the law, because it seems like his dad, maybe, like, it depends on how they set this up, but it seems like his dad's like a criminal lawyer. Like, he represents people who are criminals, and kind of like, whereas Hoffman's about taking people down, his dad's about getting those said people off charges. So like, I think for him it adds this complicated relationship he has with his dad, where it's like they're literally they're in the same, they're both law enforcement, but obviously they're on different sides of it, because obviously lawyers and cops already have that animosity towards each other too. But it's like it seems like he probably leans to more towards criminal lawyers, like, because obviously, like I said, it's kind of implying that home dude comes from a rich family, especially the conversation he was having with his mom. It's like, oh, I'm either going to go here or it's nowhere. And you know, it's like, yeah, it's like, it seemed a little kind of spoiled rich kid to be like I said, it was just kind of like, oh, I'm living this dangerous life rolling with this group. That's all that was for him. It's like kicks. And once again, hence why I feel like Violet didn't kill him. Like I said, I'm really interested to kind of dive into that and see if that's what I thought it was. But while all of that is going down, there's a whole situation with Ansel. For one, him trying to get his driver's license. And I love, like, it's like Dex is getting him, doing the rundown of like, all right, the mirror, seatbelt, all right, and let's see. And he's like, oh, can we, when can we drive? And she thinks about it, and it's like Ansel driving like a madman down the road. She's like, oh, I don't want to die. It's like, I want to do time. It's like, do you really think that little of your brother? But I guess she thinks he's going to go buck wild or something like that. Because I don't think that was a thing of, I think that was meant to be a thing of like, oh, no, that's just her imagination, because she's just a little scared. But also it's just because it's like, well, once again, she's, Ansel just keeps slipping a little further and further away from her, even though he is, it's that whole thing. But at the end of the day, she is willing to sign the permission thing as his guardian, to let him, take the test and everything. Kind of, like I said, it's a slow process to kind of letting him have his freedom. But obviously, like, Ansel was looking after the bad alibi. There's that arguing couple that comes in. It's like, oh, this is interesting. And obviously things aren't going well, so it brings in Tuki. Tuki kind of runs things, fix up a meal for them. It's like, oh, drinks are on us. And it's like, oh, they're happy and everything. It's like, oh, that's interesting. But like, Tuki kept being like, oh, I recognize him from somewhere. Well, it turns out later on, which, side note, I love Tuki, like when everyone's just kind of, he's like, put that hat, straighten that hat, button all those buttons, and that dude had like a little hamburger thing on his head. He's like, on your uniform. Like, Tuki was so disgusted with him. It's like, it's just so interesting. I mean, to be fair, Tuki worked in a restaurant before, so this isn't his first rodeo, so I guess it kind of shows you, I guess he could be a little Gordon Ramsay a little bit. So I guess that's what they're kind of going for with that. But it turns out that couple actually kind of has a tendency to kind of do terrible, like basically, because he talks about the fact that they were in the restaurant he was at before, and it kind of got shut down because of this particular couple, because I guess like they come in, cause a fuss, make up this like, oh, the food wasn't this, blah blah blah, get this stiff the bill, and then kind of bounce. So, and I love, it's like, Ansel's like, oh, can we egg their house? And he's like, no. And Tuki's like, no. Where would you even get an idea like that? Well, I forgot what sport he was saying. I think it was baseball, and he was like, yeah, one of the parents said some mean stuff to me, so Dex egged their house. And Tuki's like, of course she did. It's like, yeah, that's Dex for you. But obviously it kind of ruins like, obviously Gray's, well, the kitchen had to be shut down for a little bit because of that. I mean, Gray never brings it up later on in the episode, but still, because Gray literally said the place would fall apart without him, and it's like, oh, it kind of would. But the fact of the matter is, they do get the couple back because they do egg their house later on, and it's like this. And I love Tuki trying to be the responsible adult. Like, this isn't going to fix anything, but let's do this anyway. So that was pretty nice. But Ansel had suggested that Tuki kind of start working at the bad alibi to kind of be the chef and everything. So, like I said, some very, very interesting developments all around. But obviously, like, this whole, like, Violet and who she works for, that's definitely going to be a thread that kind of continues forward. Dirty cop dude, I expect him to get shanked in prison at some point in time. Like, he made sure to go like, oh, I'm going to go to a prison, a federal prison outside of, here, so like no one will recognize it and everything. So it's recognize him and everything, but I still get the feeling like these are some very powerful people that are going to find out he talked. So, we'll kind of find out in the long run. But I'm interested to see what this thread, because like I said, I'm blanking on his name. Kane. At first, I was still thinking like, oh, this was connected to Kane. I'm just surprised that hasn't circled back around. I mean, potentially can, but currently, I think this seems like it's even way above Kane. This definitely seems like there is some other like organization or group at play, or like some very, very powerful people who've got the potential to pull some strings like this. So I am very interested to see where ultimately all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.